Creating beautiful portraits is easy with Photoshop. Start by making 3 copies of the image by clicking Ctrl or Command J 3 times. Name the first layer Skin, the second layer Lips, and the top layer Eyes. Next, click on the eye icon on the top 2 layers to make them invisible. Next, select the layer marked Skin. Then go to Filters and click on Neural Filters and a new panel will appear. First, turn on Skin Smoothing. You can adjust the amount of smoothness to your satisfaction. And click OK to lock it in. Next, we'll turn on the third layer marked Lips. Again, we select Neural Filters and this time turn on the Makeup Transfer. Now you choose Select an Image and pick an existing photograph that has the type of makeup you'd like to use in your image. It will apply the reference makeup to the rest of the face as well, but we won't be using that. And click OK to lock it in. Next, do the same thing with the layer marked Eyes. This time I'll select a different image, one where I like the makeup applied to the eye. Remember, we'll fix all of these in a minute. And click OK to lock it in. We'll start by adding an inverted mask to each of the top 2 layers. Hold Alt or Option and click on the mask icon. An inverted mask means it hides all the information on the layer until you paint it in. You'll see the mask icon is black instead of the normal white. We do not need to add a mask to the skin smoothing layer as it's the way we want it. Next, make sure your foreground color is set to white. You can do this by clicking on the very small color icon and using the arrow to set the foreground, or by clicking the letter D on the keyboard and then the letter X to switch between foreground and background. Next, select a nice soft brush with the hardness set to 0 and the opacity to 100. The next step is to select the layer you want to manipulate. I'll start with the lips and just brush in the part I want. Make sure you have the layer mask selected and not the layer itself. I can now determine the brightness of my layer by changing the opacity of it by selecting it and sliding the opacity slider down to the desired amount. We'll do the same with the layer for the eyes. When you're happy, you can save the image as a Photoshop or TIFF file or flatten it and save it as a JPEG. Control or Command Shift E will combine the layers, or Layer Flatten will flatten the image. Next, we're going to change the expression of the face. Make sure you have a flattened image, otherwise you may apply the transition to the wrong area. Again, we'll select Neural Filters, but be careful to choose the correct one. If you go to Filters, you'll see the Neural at the top because that's the last one we used. I don't want to choose that as it will apply the last effect I used. Instead, choose the actual Neural filter. First, select Smart Portrait. You'll see a number of self-explanatory sliders. I would suggest you play with the different sliders until you get the look you want. I'll add a little happiness and maybe a bit of youth. Or I could make her look older. If you want to add anger under expressions, make sure she's not smiling. I want to point out the head tilt in the global section, which can distort the face if you apply too much. Lastly, the light direction can be useful if you need to add or change the existing light. It's simply amazing how AI can help you fix a portrait. As with all Photoshop quickies, it's best to pause this video as you work through the steps.